Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mind the Mental Monday. I am Reverend Benita Weathers, and I am a mental health advocate. I realize that it's been a minute since I've kind of sort of reintroduced myself, and so while I am not a licensed mental health practitioner. I do have a background in public health. I have a lot of information about mental health. I have family members whom I have been caregiver of who, have mental health challenges. And so I am a mental health advocate. And so on Mind the Mental Monday, I really just like to focus on encouraging those of you who listen to bring an encouraging word. I like to try to bring some practical tips for things that you can do to mind the mental. I like to encourage people to mind the mental every day. Be in touch with your mental health. Be in touch with where you are mentally. And so as we are approaching this holiday season, and as we are approaching a new year, these last couple of weeks, I have focused on some ways to mind our mental as we are preparing to go into a new year. And so I hope that the things that you've heard so far, I hope that they have been helpful. The first week, we talked a little bit about clearing the clutter, clearing that mental clutter, so that we can go into the new year with a fresh mentality, a fresh start. And so I hope that you got a chance to see that one. And if not, go to the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you do it today. Um, we talked last week about our finances, um, making room or thinking differently about our finances as we go into the new year. Talked before about, just how, very often, especially around the Christmas holiday season, people spend a lot of money that they don't really have, trying to impress people who aren't impressed, and then they get the bill for the purchases that they made, and then they're depressed because they're trying to figure out where they're going to get the money from to pay it. And so, it really is something that we have to think about not only during the holiday season, but especially during the holiday season because we tend to be down on ourselves when we can't financially do the things for people that we love that we'd like to do. So go check that one out. My daughter, Kayla, was my guest last week, and she developed something called the Boss Budget Book. If you haven't gotten your copy of it, it is a digital download. And if you go to my page, uh, you should see a link to that Boss Budget book that is for purchase. And so I hope that that episode has been helpful as well. I do also want to take some time to recognize or acknowledge the passing of Rob Reiner and his wife, who were murdered by their son, who has had a history of mental health challenges. He was one of my favorite. I loved watching him on Archie Bunker and all the many of the movies that he directed were really great movies. Is really a talented individual, but also just a good person. Just seemed to be a good human. And of course, I didn't know him personally, but just hearing those who did know him talk about him, he took up, great causes to help his fellow humans. And so, we definitely want to, just acknowledge that there's so much going on in our country. There was the mass shooting and yet another mass shooting at Brown University, the mass shooting even that took place over in Australia. There's a lot of um, turmoil and challenges in our world. And while we can't um, necessarily do anything to change other people's behaviors or to change other people's mental health status, we can do something about ourselves. And so, when we are inundated with so much um, turmoil and negativity in our society, it is up to us to make sure we are not allowing those instances to impact us to a point where we begin to feel hopeless as a society. We still must have hope that we can all do better and that we will get better. And this is a time where, I am so grateful that I have faith in God. Uh, when our fellow humans prove to us every day that we can't put our hope in humanity, it is wonderful to know that we have a creator who can take care of things, even in the worst of times, that can comfort us, even in the worst of situations, that can touch our hearts and our minds, um, if we allow him to. So, so yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge those things that have happened, but also acknowledge that in the midst of it, God is still on the throne. Uh, God is still God from eternity to eternity, and we can still trust Him to help us to navigate through these situations in which we find ourselves. So, and while we are in 2025 and while we have just like 3 more weeks I think left, if that, in the month of December. And why is December trying to be February? I'm not understanding that. Like December is it needs the mind, the mental. You talk about, not wanting to be like somebody else. December needs to just be December, right? It just needs to be December. I don't know why it's trying to be February. I don't know why it's comparing itself to February, trying to do what February does. It needs to say December, right? It's not even winter yet, and we already getting snow. And we're not in the Midwest. We're in the Northeast. We're not supposed to be getting snow yet. Um, so and December also needs to recognize it's the best month of the year because I also am grateful that I celebrated a birthday yesterday. 57, chapter 57. And I'm like, bring it on. I'm ready. I'm ready. And I'm so grateful. I'm grateful to have had another opportunity to at another year. I'm grateful for my family and my friends and just everybody who pours into me all the time. I am really grateful for my baby babies, and I got to celebrate with them yesterday, and it was my first time actually having them here with me on my birthday. So it was very, very special. That made it all the more special. So thanks to everyone for all the birthday wishes that I was sent yesterday on all the different platforms, text messages, and all the things. Thank you so much. I appreciate your outpouring of love and thinking about little old me on my birthday. All right. So now all of that is wrapped up. We are preparing our minds for a new year. And I believe that God is constantly doing a new thing. Old things are passed away, And so we are going to, there are things that we are going to leave in 2025. There are things that we're not going to take with us to 2026. We're going to declutter. We're going to get rid of, you know how when we have stuff in the closet we haven't worn in 10 years, and yet we keep holding on to it, thinking, oh, well, maybe, just maybe, we know it's going to come back in style because fashion just goes in cycles, but you ain't going to wear that again. If you haven't worn it in 5, 10 years, you're not wearing it again. I'm just here to tell you, get rid of it. Somebody can use it. If it's still in good shape, somebody could actually use it, and somebody would actually wear it, right? And not stay in the closet getting eaten up by moths. So we're not taking, all of that stuff that we should have been cleaned out. We're not taking that into 2026. And I'm talking about the mental clutter. And we talked before about how the physical clutter really can, getting rid of physical clutter can really help your um, your mental clutter. It helps to kind of clear your mind when your space is nice and decluttered and it's neat and it's organized. It helps your mind to be organized as well. So we talked about that. We are not taking poor financial habits into 2026. We are not spending money that we don't have. We're not loaning money that we don't have. We're not, buying things that we don't absolutely need. We're going to save. We're going to pay off debt, and we are going to be better stewards over the finances that God has allowed us. So that's what we're going to do in 2026. The bad habits. Um, I, I'm gonna age myself, but they're on. My sister is going to look. She'll see this, and she'll love this reference I'm about to make. But the Flintstones, y'all remember the Flintstones? Y'all remember Betty and Wilma? And they used to be like, charge it, right? They go, they go run into the store, buying up stuff, talking about charge it. But when you charge it, you're gonna get charged, right? More. You're not gonna be just paying back what you spent unless you pay it completely off, which is actually a good thing if you're trying to build your credit. That is one of the things that if you use a credit card, pay all of it off within that month, and you're not charged any interest, and you're actually paying what you actually borrow. But when you let it linger, and then, something else that I learned from my financial advisor is because I would have started doing those, like, the things that allow you to pay in like multiples, and I not realizing that hits your credit. I didn't realize that hits your credit. And so I was doing that, it gets paid off immediately, but it still negatively impacts your credit. So I was like, Lord, all right, we're gonna have to, if we got the money for it and we need it, we can get it. And if not, we don't. We won't. Um, so my dad used to always talk about deferred gratification, used to get on my nerves talking about some deferred gratification. I don't want a deferred gratification. I want it now. Um, and I always wondered why, like, we asked my dad for money, he would ask us 10,000 questions until we would get to a point where we'd be like, I don't even want it now. But now I realize that what he was really doing was showing us that we really didn't need whatever it was to begin with. It wasn't that we needed it. It's just we just wanted it. Well, why do you want it? What is it going to do for you? How is it going to enhance your life? All of these different questions. And those are questions that we have to ask, like is it something we need? Is it something we want? There's nothing wrong with treating yourself every once in a while. But a lot of times when we are dealing with mental like challenges that are impacting our mental health, that's sort of, when we're in a state of feeling down, and one of the things that we try to do is one of the things that we try to do is we just go out and just buy stuff to make us feel better. It's shopping sometimes is like a drug. Um, it just in the it's an immediate gratification, and in the immediacy of it, it's like, oh, I like this new outfit. This is nice, whatever, whatever. But sometimes you end up having stuff in the closet that you literally haven't even taken the tags off of, and just hanging in the closet. And then it's just like you spent this money. Why? So really take an account of what we're doing and how we're spending our money is important. And I'm sorry, y'all, but my I was getting a call. Um so give me a second. So I'm just letting that person know that I'll call you back when I get off of my mental Monday. All right, this is all in real time. So tonight we are going to talk about renewing your mind intentionally because we all of the things that we talked about before, the decluttering and the being good stewards over your finances or anything that impacts our mental health, we can't really do none of those things can really happen until we have a mind renewing. And that is something just like with anything else that we have to do with intention. We have to have a desire to have a changed mindset, one that is going to help us to move in the ways that we need to move into and enhance our lives and enhance our mental um, capacity. And so it's one of those things that we have to sort of intentionally do. It's just like when we talked about before, things that play on loop in our minds that we have to change the message. Like we have to not only get rid of that the bad message that's playing on loop, but we have to then replace it with a good message and intentionally play that on loop. Just like a favorite song that you love and you just put it on repeat. You just gotta hear it a few times. Sometimes that's what we have to do. We have to give ourselves, speak messages to ourselves that we play over and over and over again that will build our confidence, that will build how we feel about ourselves, that will build our ability to communicate effectively how we're feeling and how we're doing, and that will show the beautiful and wonderful person that we were created to be. And that part needs to sort of play on loop. And so in terms of reframing our minds, and really preparing our minds to take on something new, to allow God to do a new thing in this upcoming year. One of the things that we have to do is to get clarity about who we are becoming. And as Michelle Obama said, we are always becoming. We're never going to get to a place where we're just stagnant, because if we get to a place where we're just stagnant and we're no longer growing, we're no longer learning, we're no longer producing, then we just wither and die. And while we are still here, there is more that we have to do. There is more that we have to accomplish. There is more. And so in order to get to the more, get an understanding of who you are right now and who are you becoming? Where are you going in life? And one of the things that my husband does every year without fail at his birthday, like his birthday is his new year. And he always takes time out to really just think back on the previous year, and to gain a better understanding of how far he's come, what he has accomplished, and where he wants to go in the future. And that's a practice that I've sort of adopted as well, just sort of sitting and journaling about, yesterday on my birthday, I was looking at my mental health journal, and it goes back to 2023, so 2 years ago. And I saw that what I was dealing with back in 2023, I was able to actually see that, wow, I got through that period. I got through that and I won. If I can get through it in that period, whatever comes up for me, in now, and if the Lord lets me see a future, I can get through things. Like I have the ability to take the time to assess and reassess where I am, uh, and where I want to be. And I have the tools now to be able to deal with those when I'm in a space where I'm feeling like I'm not making the progress that I want to make. I now have the tools in place to kind of take one thing at a time and sort of deal with it, on a daily basis. And I'm able to see the growth. I'm able to see the maturity. I'm able to see an enhancement in wisdom, that I'm then able to impart to the younger generation. I have a little running joke that I'm 30, I'm just 32, and I'm just gonna stay at 32. But but in reality, I wouldn't want to stay at 32 because I feel much better mentally actually where I am now, because now, and when you hit your 50s, that's when you start to really feel good about yourself. You start to, really get to understand who you are as a person. You start being honest with yourself and with others, unashamedly, unapologetically. Like I'm actually loving the season of life that I'm in right now. I really am. And I hope that you are too. But you're also able to assess your values. Like what matters to you most? What matters to me most? Like I know that um i- in my younger years in particular, I'm not saying my younger years, because even now, I am always, wishing that I were far further along financially um than I am. But at the same time, I also realize that God has brought me through. Like with whatever I have, He adds whatever I need to handle all of my needs. In the most recent case, 2 years ago, when I was reading my journal, I saw that back around this time, the end of November 2023, part of my loans had been my student loans, which were really my children's student loans, had been forgiven. Was really happy about that, but I was still left with a lot of debt. And then fast forward two years later, I kept praying over that 2 year period. I kept praying, Lord, I need a miracle. I need a miracle because it's like $329,000 worth of student loan debt. 40,000 of that is interest. Like this is crazy. Like I need a miracle. And I fast forward 2 years almost to the day, when I wrote initially about needing a miracle to pay off these student loans, they were all forgiven. So went from the over $300,000 to zero. And so I'm here to tell you that God will give you what you need when you need it. It wasn't in my timing. Because I wanted it 2 years ago, and I wanted it back in 2023. It's like, Lord, what's taking you so long? What's happening? Why are we taking so long? But, fast forward, it happened in the timing in which it needed to happen. And I am grateful for that. And so, we have to sort of assess what are the values right now. My values are, my faith is a huge value, not just because of that, but because I have witnessed God do miraculous things over these 57 years that I've been on this earth. And I have learned that when I trust him in all things and with all things, he handles it. Like he takes care of it. Um, Even, there are times where I have mismanaged and I have been irresponsible, and I acknowledge that. And I learned the lesson from that, and I sort of take care of that. Um, and then God just still does the miraculous and just does exceedingly abundantly above all I can ask or think, just as it was said in his word. So I've learned to trust God in all things. So that is what I value right now in my life. I don't really value, I've never been a very materialistic person. So, I've never been that person that was into wearing other people's names and all that kind of stuff. Like I've never really cared about that. But I care about having time to spend and be present with my family, with my grandchildren, you know, putting the phone down and just enjoying the moment. My husband took me to a concert Saturday night with one of my favorite artists, Eric Benet. And, you know, a lot of times I might go to a concert and like be filming half the time. But this time I filmed maybe one snippet. Um, but this time I just wanted to be present. I wanted to be present with my husband. And the two of us just sitting and enjoying the vocal stylings of this vocal beast, because he is a vocal beast. Um, and just enjoying each other's company and enjoying the show. That's what I value now, not so much things, but presence. Just being, with the people that I love, and, playing games, or, just laughing, having a good time, remembering old times. And, those kinds of things are what matter. So what are your values? What do you value most now, right? And what values do you want to carry into 2026? And what are some values that maybe that you have now that maybe you don't want that to be your value anymore? Maybe you're moving on, you're growing, you're becoming, you're broadening your horizon, you're evolving, you're changing. Um, wh where are you in that process? Um, in your mindset? Um, what protects your peace and your purpose? What are some things? Sometimes it's not things necessarily that you need to cut out. Sometimes it's people that need to be cut out of your life. Sometimes it's places that you don't need to go anymore, that you don't want to go. Um, so there's a variety of ways in which we find it necessary to change and evolve and prepare our minds to shift our mindset um, with intentionality for growth. You don't want to stay stuck in the same spot. It's December 15th, 2025. December 15th, 2026, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, and the Lord lets us see it. You don't want to feel like you haven't moved, you haven't grown, you haven't challenged yourself to do something new, to try a new thing, and to allow God to use you in a different and new and fresh way. And so I'm encouraging you tonight, to think about just think through where you are and where you could be, and how you're planning to get there. What are some of the changes that you're looking to make in 2026? So some tools, and we like tools that we can use, that are practical. One tool that we've talked about before are affirmations. Affirmations really do work. When you affirm yourself on a daily basis and consistent basis, and even, beyond just saying the affirmation like aloud, but not only saying the affirmation aloud, but also writing them down, and placing them in places where you will see them on a daily basis. Maybe you have, I don't know, that it might be a little tacky, but it'll work sometimes. The post-it notes. You can put post-it notes on your mirror or something. You can use your phone and you can make an affirmation of the day be your what do they call it? Your the screen saver on your phone. Or they call it something else. There's another wallpaper. You can let that be your wallpaper for the day because you can change your wallpaper on your phone, right? So you could allow your affirmation for the day to be that, but something that will trigger you to see it, to repeat it, and to internalize it. Sometimes we need those, and when our minds, like I've said before, our minds like repetitiveness. Our minds like to just be able to just do it, right? Whatever it is, or think it quickly. And so when you have those affirmations, whether you choose to post them, do the old-fashioned post-it note, or put it on your phone, or do something, set an alarm that triggers you to say, oh, let me read my affirmation, or let me repeat my affirmation for the day aloud. It allows you to say those things, and that helps those endorphins, those good hormones in your mind to increase, and it just immediately makes you feel better about yourself. So when you find yourself getting in some kind of a slump, feeling down about yourself, feeling down about your abilities, it can be an affirmation, it could be a scripture, it could be, and it doesn't have to be like a famous quote or something like that. It can be something that you come up with yourself for you that helps you. Whatever that is, use it. You use your tools. There's no point in having a toolkit with a bunch of tools in it, and it's just sitting in the corner. And when you need it, like it's still sitting in the corner, collecting dust. Use your tools. That's what they're there for. Um, have some kind of meditative reflection. I think that's important to do on a daily basis, to whether it's at the beginning of your day, the middle of your day, the end of your day, whatever works best for you. There needs to be a time that you set aside to reflect. Reflect on yourself, reflect on where you've been, even journal it if you want to, like things that you've accomplished over the last year. Because what we like to choose to remember are when we made mistakes, or when we did things that we might consider bad things that we've done, w- rather than with being intentional about the good things, the things that you've accomplished over the year, and even just writing those down so that you remember, oh yeah. When I look back at my journal from 2 years ago, I was just reading it like a book. I was just like, oh man, I forgot all about some of the stuff. I'm like, wow, I did that. Like I tackled this stuff, you know? Yes, with the help of my Lord and with the help of therapy, but I tackled some stuff and got through it. And I was proud of myself, for doing it, and acknowledging that I did that. I accomplished that. And I'm proud of that. I'm much better at doing that now too, of acknowledging things that I've accomplished and being happy about it. It's nothing wrong with it. Why? Why, this thing that we try to, that's not necessarily humility. I don't know what to call it, but sometimes you have to acknowledge for yourself the things that you've done so that you can remember when it comes time for you to accomplish things again that you did. If you did that, then surely you can do this. Sometimes we just need it as a reminder. It's not like you're going around bragging about all that you did or whatever, but it's really more of a reminder for yourself, that you have the ability to accomplish things that maybe you didn't think before you accomplished it. You might have had some reservation about it. You might have thought that you couldn't do, there's something you couldn't do, or something that you never have be bold enough to do, and yet you did it. So remind yourself of those things. That can be a part of your affirmation. Um, Writing down even those thoughts, those what we call self-sabotaging thoughts, and then symbolically just crossing them out. So like those the whatever self-sabotaging thoughts you had for yourself in 2025, write them down and then cross them out, because you're not taking them into 2026. We're not self-sabotaging. We are not putting ourselves down. We are not going to do that. We are going to take into 2026 those things that are actually true, that we can do, right? And those thoughts, those good thoughts about ourselves, we are going to take those into 2026. Now, some of those thoughts that you had that were self-sabotaging, maybe there is some kind of lesson tied in with those that you can take. So if you felt like you failed at a thing, okay, well, what did you learn from it? And so what lessons did you learn from them that you can then take into 2026 so that you don't repeat the same error again? Now, as sure as you're human, you're going to repeat, you not repeat, you're going to have some new errors, because we're not perfect. All right? We're not perfect. We can strive for perfection with the understanding that we're not perfect. And so whatever our imperfections, whatever mistakes we make or missteps or whatever the case might be, as long as we're learning something from that and we're able to then take the lesson that we learned, and benefit from that and try something else, then that's it's all good. It's all good, and we can take all the things that we have learned and utilize it for our good. Um, um, so what mindset will strengthen the version of me I am becoming? So I want you to write that down, and I want you to, like, throughout this week, think about that. What mindset will strengthen the version of me I am becoming? Think about that. And write down what your ideas are about that. How are you going to, what thoughts do you need to have in order to strengthen the person that you are becoming? Because what we're not going to do in 2020, what we're not taking into 2026 is stagnation. We're not going to be stagnant. We're not going to just stay in the same place, doing the same thing, expecting a different result. We're not going to do that. We're going to figure out what do we need to do to achieve the result that we're trying to achieve, and we're going to take those steps. That's what we're doing in 2026. And I'm claiming it. I'm claiming it not just for me, but for all of us, that we are going to do a new thing in 2026. And we are going to remember to renew our mind with intention daily. It's not a one-time thing. Our minds constantly need to be renewed. And the way that we do that, that we renew our minds is we renew them by affirming ourselves and who we are. We renew our minds through prayer. We renew our minds through the study of scripture. We renew our minds through positive conversations that we have with others who are like-minded and who are trying to move in similar directions. We renew our minds by encouraging one another. We renew our minds by reminding ourselves that we can do all things through Christ who gives us the strength. We renew our minds, by being there for one another, by helping our fellow man, our fellow human, I'll say. There's a myriad of ways that we can renew our minds for the positive. Um, but it's something that we have to do daily, that we have to daily remind ourselves so that it is on autoplay, right? So that those good thoughts are played in our minds automatically, and that we are able to grow, we're able to enhance, we're able to um, continually remind ourselves that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And because we are fearfully and wonderfully made, we can do some fearful and wonderful, not fearful in a bad way, but we can accomplish some wonderful things that will not only help us to grow, because we're not trying to be selfish with our gifts. We want to be able to not only help ourselves to grow, but we want to help our friends, our family, our loved ones, our community. We are, wanting to make sure that, we are building each other up rather than tearing each other down. In a world where that seems to be the norm, and in a world where, there's rage bait being thrown out there on social media, and people are taking the bait and just out here just fighting and arguing and shooting each other on the highway and all this kind of stuff that's happening. Somebody has got to stand up and be that encourager and be that one that's going to flip that script so that there is hope for humanity, for our communities and the places that we serve and the places that we live and go and grow. So I hope that these Mind the Mental Mondays over the last few weeks, as we're about to go into 2026, I hope that they are helpful. And one of the things that we want to do as we are transforming and renewing our minds, um, in order to take on this new year, is that we want to sustain our reset and reframed mind, right? We want to make sure that we are continuing on that trajectory throughout the next year. And so that by the time we get to getting ready for 2027, it's like it's on autoplay. We already know what to do. We already know, and because we've been renewing our minds all throughout the year, we are ready to take on whatever is new. We're ready to take on new challenges. We're ready to take on new possibilities. We are ready to grow. We are ready to, because as long as we are here on this earth, there is room to do something new. There is room to do something to help humanity. Um, and you can do it. Whatever your it is, you can do it. So be encouraged, um, and just, continue to mind the mental every single day. All right. So that is it for tonight. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I'm going to see you in 2026 because we're going to take the next couple of weeks off. We are going to enjoy some family time. We are going to enjoy, we're going to have a Merry Christmas. We're going to have a Happy New Year. And we are going to be present with our loved ones. And so I hope that you all will do the same. And you, whatever holidays you celebrate, I pray that you will be safe, that you will be present with your family members. I pray for people putting the phone away and just really enjoying each other's company, really being present with one another, really having real conversations with each other. And yeah, we can renew these minds as a community for 2026. So um, I'm praying to see 2026 and I'm praying to see all of you there as well. In the meanwhile, and over these couple of weeks, you can re-listen to Mind the Mental Monday on the YouTube channel. You can share the YouTube channel with your friends. And if there are episodes in particular that resonate with you, share them with others because I guarantee you that they will resonate with others as well. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for your messages and all the things. And have a wonderful and safe holiday season. God bless and good night.